Every Chevelle has a story, but not every one is telling the truth. Stamped in steel, the VIN don't lie. Today we're decoding 64 to 67 Chevelle VINs and body tags, so you know exactly what you've got. I'm also going to reveal something you probably didn't know about a Chevelle at the end of the video, so hang around. And I'm going to give you a lowdown on the history of the Chevelle right now. The Chevelle didn't start out as a legend. It started out as a smart move because back in 1963, Chevrolet had a gap. The Impala was big, the Nova was small, and right in the middle, nothing. So in 1964, they dropped the Chevelle, a mid-sized car to take on the Ford Fairlane. But what they really built was a platform, a car that could be anything you wanted it to be. You want a family cruiser? Go four-door, wagon, load it up, take the kids. You want something with a little attitude? Two-door hardtop, convertible. Now we're talking. And if you knew what boxes to check, you could turn the same car into a street fighter. Go option 138. That's what made the Chevelle different. It didn't lock you into any lane. Your early cars came with small power. Nothing crazy, but that didn't last long. By mid 64, Chevy dropped the 327 and you got 300 horsepower. And just like that, the tone changes. Then comes the SS package, badging, buckets, console. Sure, but what mattered? What was under the hood and what it meant. Because now the Chevelle was competition. And then 1965 changes everything. Enter the Z16. 396 big block, 375 horsepower, heavy duty everything. Now only a couple hundred were built, but what a car. That car. That's the moment the Chevelle steps into muscle car territory for real. No more pretending, no more middle ground. Now they got serious. By 1966, the SS isn't just an option anymore. It's the car. And it looked the part. The 67, in my opinion, was one of the best styled cars of the era. Then comes the redesign in 1968. A shorter wheelbase, longer hood. Some call it that Coke bottle shape. Now it looks as aggressive as it runs. And by 1970, you could even order an LS6 454. Imagine 450 horsepower from the factory. Let that sink in. That's not marketing. That's war on the streets. But like everything in the muscle car era, it doesn't last forever. Regulations hit, emissions, insurance, fuel prices. By the early 70s, compressions drop, horsepower fades, and by 77, the Chevelle name was gone, replaced by Malibu. It became a different world. But here's the thing. The Chevelle never really left because it wasn't just a car, it was a blueprint. Long hood, short deck, big power, street presence. You still see it today in everything. And more importantly, you see it in garages. There's projects, restorations, clones, and survivors. But every Chevelle out there has a story. Some stories are real. Some are just created. Or maybe they're just clones. And some cars are actually better on paperwork than they are in steel. But don't worry, I'm going to help you decipher your car's true origins. Okay, let's get started and learn how to read your Cowl tag on your Chevelle. Now, there are a lot of different lines, a lot of code, and you are going to need some other reference materials for the year of your exact car because the colors changed, the interior options, and the option list itself all changed, and you're going to need those to decipher your code. First, what may seem simple to some of you is the location. Your Cowl tag is located on the upper driver's side section of your firewall, near the brake booster. The Cowl tag will be stamped metal and riveted directly to the firewall. Don't confuse your Cowl tag with your VIN tag. The VIN tag is located on your door jamb on the driver's side, and we'll get back to that. Now that you've found your cowl tag, we're going to decipher all those numbers and all those letters that are on there. Not all of them, but the ones that you need to find out what your car should actually have. In some cases, it's just to find out what color and motor and interior your car with. Sometimes when you're buying a car, you want to know if it's actually a real SS. So we're going to be able to tell that from this cowl tag. Now we're starting in the upper left-hand corner, and that very first set of numbers is the time built. It gives us the month and the week. Now we're using my cowl tag on my 67 Chevelle to decipher. Yours will be different. This very first number signifies the month and week. The first number is the build month. Here it's a 10 for October. The next denotes the week of the month. Here is a D for the fourth week. So it's pretty easy. You have first week, second week, third week, fourth week, fifth week, and they would be A, B, C, D, or E. The next number, this number showing is an 8221. The next number is actually an internal tracking code that the factory used and really doesn't denote anything that you need to know right now. The second line, the first number is here for the year it was built. Here, 67 for 1967. Next to your year, you will find a 4-digit code. Now, this is going to denote the series. So, for instance, 138, one of the most important codes to collectors is 138 because that says it's a super sport. 136, totally different. 138 is what you're looking for if your car says it's a super sport. 17, that tells us that it's a 2-door sport coupe. Would be different if it was convertible. So we know that this is a super sport 2-door sport coupe. Next is the factory location. In this case, it's KAN, which denotes Kansas. Then we have 3015, which was the build unit number. So you see, we're finding out a lot about this car, not just what color it was, but when it was built. Now we're going to drop down to the third line, which starts with a 761. The interior code. This tells us it was a bench seat. The dash A stands for black interior. Now your car might have a number that denotes bucket seats and something like a blue interior. So this is where you will have to go back to some of those reference sheets that we'll show you some later. Now across the tag, the double letter code that indicates the upper and lower body color. So mine is K-K. This denotes that my car was a blue body and a blue top. Now, if I had a black vinyl top, we would see something different for the upper body code. The fourth line, this shows us option codes. The first one on mine is W for tinted windows. Next, we have a number 2 denoting the second package, and M for power glide, and R for rear seat speaker. Finally, we jump across to the 5 section, and we see 5Y, which denoted deluxe seat belts. So now I am going to show you some of the reference sheets and color codes for 1967s, but for other years, you'll have to just find those reference codes and find them for your model year. Now let's look at some of the slides that I've put together so you can decipher your cowl tag. The very first slide is pretty simple and easy, but just a reminder for the beginner. Then we look at the 4-digit body code. standard models, and next, the 4-digit body code for SS models. Remember, you can always pause this video and check them out a little closer. Next, these are the codes for each of the Chevelle build plants: Atlanta, Baltimore, Framingham, Fremont, Kansas City, Oshawa in Canada. Then we go on to the option groups. Now, option group 1 codes for things such as tinted glass, tinted windows, and power convertible top. Each of those letter codes are here. Then a little bit more comprehensive look for things that include rare options such as two-tone paint, power bench seat, power windows, power bucket seats, and in the case of a station wagon, we even have the power tailgate window. Then moving on to the option 2 groups, those codes include transmission codes and air conditioning. But with a more in-depth look, we also find other items such as a rear antenna, comfort tilt steering wheel, and there are some unknown codes that just have never been able to really be put down absolutely for certain. Now, the Group 3 codes are quite limited. Rear defogger and special lighting. Then as we move on to the option 4 codes, this is where it gets into a little bit of a gray area. We know that option 4F is an operating convenience group. However, 4H and N are unknown. People have said they've seen the H on Baltimore trim sheets. Then going into group 5, we also see some that are unknown, but what we do know are the front bumper guards, deluxe seat belts, which my car had, and then shoulder belts. People often forget that things that are so common nowadays, like the deluxe seat belts and shoulder belts, were actually an option back then. So don't let that confuse you. Then we get into the Chevelle and El Camino assembly plants. Now, not all plants assembled the El Camino. So here, this will help you figure that out. If you do happen to have an El Camino, it'll give you a great reference and show you that. Finally, we get into one of the best slides here, all of the color combinations, the colors that you could order two-tone, the colors you could order individually, and some examples. Then I put together a slide sheet on all of the colors that were offered in 1967. You'll have to do a little research for 64, 65, and 66, but these are the 67 colors. And keep in mind that colors do shift on computers and on TV screens, so they're not exact, but they're a good reference to start with. Now let's go right back to the heart of your car, the VIN tag. The VIN tag on a 67 Chevelle is going to be found when you open the driver's door and look right at that driver's pillar right there. Between the door, you can see it right there. And it will be a riveted on tag with a series of numbers and letters. Now on my car, it was painted over when the car had been painted, still very visible, but it's not going to be a bright, shiny tag. And your car may be the same way if it was, ever repainted. Now, there are other locations on your car, and we'll start with the motor stamping. The motor stamping is behind the alternator, right on a pad. And if yours has not been modified or changed, it will be like mine. It will have a series of numbers on it that actually fall into the VIN tag. They match that VIN tag, part of that VIN tag number. I'm so fortunate to have the original transmission and motor with my car, so I'm really happy there, and I hope you get the same delight when you find yours. Now, hidden VIN tags. These are areas that the factory put on to prevent theft and to help you identify the car if the motor or the VIN tag had ever been changed. And if you're trying to identify a car to see if it's authentic, if someone hasn't changed the VIN tag, if you suspect maybe a rivet doesn't look quite right, it's not the star rivet, or you're just not sure, you can always go to these locations and do a double check. The first one, open the trunk, and on either the right side or the left side, between the edge of the quarter panel and the rubber, there should be a stamping number on one of those sides. Then, as we come around to the frame, now, you can't always check the frame, unfortunately, because the frame has your body on it in most cases. But if you are doing a full resto and there's not too much rust, you may be able to find it in these select locations that I'm showing you right now. In addition to that, some frames will have on the driver's side, underneath, or on the side, in the rear area next to the gas tank, a manufacturer's frame number and the date it was made, which is just a little bit more information that you can put with your car. I hope that my reference charts have helped you identify your car. And if they have, then I appreciate a like, a subscribe, and leave me a positive comment if it helped you or whatever you might find, because that would sure be helpful to my shows. Then, I've been promising you all along that I was going to give you something at the end of the video. And here it is. Where did the name Chevelle actually come from? Well, Chevelle is actually a cross between Chevrolet and the French word belle. And belle is beautiful. So they combined the Chev and the L from Bella, and they had a beautiful Chevrolet, because it wasn't part of the big cars, the Impalas and like that. They wanted it to be identified by itself, and that's where they came up with. So I hope you enjoyed everything today. Support us and support the show. Go to my website, Bond Speed Streetwear, and pick something up. We have hats, t-shirts, stickers, sweatshirts. Go check it out. I'm sure you'll find something there that is really cool. Hey, thanks for watching. I'm Brad Fanshaw, and I appreciate you coming to my channel. Be sure you go back and watch episodes 1 through 4, Saving the Chevelle. I went and found this car that had been stored since 1980. Go back and check it out, because we're going to be restoring it right here on my channel.